All right, we're going to start today's show with this is something that broke yesterday. So we told you about the 24th accuser as we started the show yesterday. And during the course of our show, that filing actually happened. We didn't know much about it, so we really weren't able to say much about it. But today we know that this 24th accuser, at least in name, was a surprise to everyone.
Yeah.
Because Deshaun Watson's own lawyer, Rusty Hardin, Steve, if we can see that quote, Rusty Hardin says, our legal team has that picture.
We got to get a second picture.
That's a great haircut. Our legal team has not had time to investigate this new filing and not heard her name until today. Guys, that surprised me because you talked to Aditi earlier today, who's going to join us later in the program, and she said that all of the teams that were interested in signing Deshaun Watson were aware not just of the 22 that had already been filed, but also that there were a 23rd and 24th accuser waiting in the wings.
Yeah, she knew. She was told by multiple sources that they knew there were others.
Yeah.
They may not have known the specifics of who the people were and what the accusation was, but
what does it say to you that Rusty Hardin's legal team had never heard of this accuser before?
Again, I think I don't know why you'd say that if you're Rusty Hardin. I don't know that helps.
It was his way of saying no comment. He basically said, we can't comment on this because we're just learning about it.
Real quick on an unrelated note, Rusty Hardin, again, well, I didn't say this one, but he looks like a character from Beetlejuice.
He does.
Like he looks like you might be able to take his skin off and just see another creature.
Like a Muppet, like
exactly.
some kind of Muppet creature.
But let me say this, and I've been going counter to this point from the beginning. I've been saying I wouldn't settle. Deshaun Watson absolutely must settle, and he must settle immediately.
Okay, so that is a 180-degree reversal. Yesterday you sat there and said no.
Yes.
And we were trying to talk you into, but sometimes even if you're not guilty of anything.
Even if he truly believes he's innocent.
Tell us why you think that now.
Because this latest accusation, if you see the specifics of it.
The language wasn't pretty.
I had two women say to me since they heard about this. Two women that were up until this point saying, it's he said, she said, I don't know. So it's not like, they were against him to begin with. But I've had two women that were very open-minded on this, that were fine with Watson being here, this morning, say to me, this one was pretty gross.
He's starting to lose the PR battle a little bit more than he was.
It's time to settle.
We had a moment when this happened when a lot of people just took a hard swallow and said, this is going to be over, it's going to be 6 games, we won't have to hear about it anymore, and we can all move on, and that's the devil's bargain that they signed on for. What they didn't see was it dragging out this long, this drip, drip, drip of different people keeping in the news. If we've done something wrong, you just don't want to keep hearing about it. You want it to be over.
You want it to move on.
I'm not saying that. I don't know whether they should settle. I really don't. I think that would be the wise move as well at this point. But I have questions about. All right, we're at 24, like you said. Does this one represent that 24th, or is there really a 25th? Is there going to be a 26th? I looked it up. The statute of limitations in Texas is 10 years on a sexual harassment allegation.
Yeah.
What if something happens and we do figure this out, and all of a sudden somebody sees this court case, and in August they say to themselves, now I have the bravery to come forward. Those women did the right thing. I have text messages with our exchanges that are extremely vulgar. No one's ever heard of me, and I'm throwing my hat in the ring. And not only is it a civil suit, but now it's back to being a legal thing again.
Yeah,
that could happen.
So let me ask G. Bush, because you haven't weighed in yet. It appears it's worked on you.
Yes.
You say he's losing the PR battle. G. Bush, is Tony Buzbee's full court press working?
In the short term, yeah. It works in the short term because of the simple fact that when you only have one side of the argument out, right? So Deshaun Watson's not going to come out and say, all right, well, I'm discrediting that person because of this reason, that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That side's not
Well, he's already
out.
given the blanket denial. I've done nothing wrong.
Right.
So when you drip it out like this, boom, boom, maybe it's a 26, maybe it's a 20.
It's like water torture.
That's a pressure technique. And it's mainly on the people that are in the public, right? Because if you look at 24, this woman she didn't file no criminal charges. She said, let's go do civil charges, right? And a lot of them said, no, we don't want to do criminal charges. So this is aimed to really sway. I would say, just like in a lot of our life, we're trying to sway at 20% in the middle. Not the people who think that he's guilty or the people who think he's innocent. It's that 20% right here where it's like, okay.
Apparently it's working per Bull's very small market research.
Now,
yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
One of the thoughts that I have is whether it's 23, whether it's 24, whether it's 30, I look at it from a different perspective. You can have 100 people, right? The goal for those 100 people is they don't want to drag it out that long. They just want to get the bag. Like, they don't want to be here all year. So if I'm Deshaun Watson, and I know for a fact their goal is to not only raise the amount of money I'm giving accuser 1, but accuser 24, right? They're like, okay, well, listen, if I put more people on here, that's more out-of-pocket money that you're giving, and that's what I'm trying to do to maximize the availability of getting that bag for the rest of my people. For me, I'd say this. Nah, well, I call your bluff. I mean, if you can bring 27 of them, here's the point. If you bring 27, I'll go to trial with it. Now, would that suck for him? Sure. But if you're a defendant and you're saying, I don't care how many people you bring up here, I'm going to trial. That puts the ball back in your court and saying, well, accuser 24, do you want to waste 2-3 years of your life?
Gee, here's the problem for Watson.
Okay.
Is that the longer this drags on, I think the longer his suspension is going to end up being. As everything more drips out, there's more pressure on the league to suspend him more. And whether that's fair or not is irrelevant.
Right.
That in theory is not fair, but it doesn't matter. The league, you know this, they make their decisions based on PR.
They react to pressure.
They react to pressure. And
they're feeling it right now.
And another thing is, if let's say they suspend him now, and let's say he doesn't settle, and they suspend him now, and they suspend him 6 games.
Yep.
And then 2 years from now, these cases go to court, and he loses. I'm not saying he would, but if he did, well, then they might suspend him again. No. Whereas I think if he settles now, he'll get his suspension, and then everybody can move on.
Well, here's the thing. You talk about a PR thing about suspending him once, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. If they suspend him 6 games, and then he goes and settles the lawsuits,
yeah,
you're going to have a PR nightmare on the other end. Because everybody that's going to say, look, bro, we're not doing double jeopardy. You're not going to suspend me once, bring me back in here after you suspended me, and then suspend me twice because you think you're...
Yeah, but they can.
No, hold it. They can,
yeah.
But you're going to have a whole lot of NFL fans that stand up and be like, listen, I remember Colin Kaepernick. He still don't got a job.
Brad made that point yesterday.
Colin Kaepernick still does not have a job, and the league admitted that they did what they did.
That's why, Mike.
So keep it 100. You're going to have people on the opposite end. If they give him 8, I'm going to say, look, he got to 8. Let's keep it moving. If they want to give him a year, that would suck. Give him the year and keep it moving. But we not about to do.
We're not going to revisit it all the time.
We're not revisiting that.
Mike, let me ask you this, because Brad made that point yesterday. He said that if you start talking more than half a season, he said there's going to be a very large contingency of this fan base that there's going to be an uprising against this, that this is too punitive and it's not fair and on and on. Is this the biggest rock and a hard place the NFL has ever been situated between? And I say that knowing that Ray Rice was a real predicament for them, but they handled that swiftly once the tape came out. It was over and done with in a week.
You're right. There hasn't been that thing that pushes everything over the edge and makes somebody make a decision. That's the problem with this. That's the problem with this he said, she said thing, not having any actual physical evidence necessarily, not having that tape, and not having somebody who's willing to say, I did some things wrong. Like, he still has not even said, like, I was inappropriate. He is not willing to offer any culpability. And there hasn't been.
He's been 180 degrees the other way.
Yes, and it's that kind of defiance that the NFL is not used to, I feel like. Somebody saying, because where does that leave you? At least then the league gets to say, well, he's learned his lesson, he said this, he's doing this, but he's giving them nowhere to go.
Right.
Because they can just say, he says he's innocent, we're going to give him this anyways. Hopefully nobody else says or comes out with another allegation. That is a terrible situation.
We got to spin this.
I want to move it forward to the contract because
Yes.
Mike Florio wrote a piece yesterday, I believe, and Mike is basically putting out there this idea that if the Browns want to void this contract, that the parachute for them to do that is there. Which is interesting because when it was signed, it was guaranteed, it was locked, it was a done deal.
Yeah.
But he has the contract. I'm sure he's had agents and lawyers look at the contract.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mike is very responsible with these sort of things. Mike throws a lot of stuff against the wall.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say about Mike is Mike has sources that are... He's heard from agents and lawyers that this is doable.
Right.
What do you make of that?
That would,
that you could get out. The
that would
Browns
indicate, though. I think the only way you could do that, and I haven't read that, but the only way you could do that is if if his attorney or his agent represented incorrectly what the legal situation that Deshaun was in to the Browns. Because if the Browns accepted this and said we're just going to take, but if there's any kind of, if they suggested something that wasn't true in their negotiations and said like, don't worry, that's all taken care of, or these are the only 24, then you've got something. But if not, then the Browns took
The
it
Browns
on.
are not doing this, Gene. There's no chance the Browns are doing this. Florio in the article is just speculating about what the Browns could do. He's not saying they're actively
No, I don't even think he's saying that they are going to do this or they're thinking about it. I think he's just speculating.
He's speculating whether it's possible.
This is an option.
Yep.
This is an option. Not that they might do it.
It may be possible, and I guess in theory, if Deshaun were suspended for multiple years, it might be something they would consider. But I can't imagine that's going to happen.
I think you're arguing the wrong thing, Bull. We're not arguing, are the Browns going to do this?
Right.
He wasn't arguing that. I think Florio in his column was simply saying if they want an out, that out exists.
It may exist if they didn't know about this specific case based on the language, and the language can be a little confusing and a little gray on
read
purpose.
It's very confusing.
But I'm spinning it to I don't think there's any way on earth the Browns would do this.
This is a perfect example, right? So say, for instance, you're in the market for buying a television, right?
I love where this is going already.
I do too. I love TVs.
You're in the market for television. Now you're looking online and you say, okay, there's some new TVs over here. Look at this. It's about, this is 2000. This is high-end joint. Or you get a little email that says, hey, there's a flea market. Buy here, pay here. Little place. Unboxed televisions, right? So when you go, you got a choice what you're going to do. You can go get that new TV or you get the unboxed one. The unboxed one is like $500. You're like, I'm never going to get a deal like this. I'd never get this. It's unboxed out. You take it as it is, right?
No warranty.
No warranty. The Cleveland Browns knew that Deshaun Watson had flaws. They knew the only reason that he was on the market was because he was already unboxed. It's already there. You can't go buy the unboxed one and take it back to the flea market.
Right.
You can't. It just is what it is. You got to accept what it could. If it played for 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years,
Let me take it further.
There's a contract involved, though. When you buy that TV at the flea market, there's no contract.
Also, there's you can buy used stuff on Amazon Prime. Sometimes it's refurbished or revamped, and even that comes with a limited liability contract that essentially says if this thing comes, you get it and it just doesn't plug in and doesn't work, then you can send it back for a full refund. So even used things have like contracts and language, and hopefully, the Browns hopefully covered their ass in some way on that.
I would love to see this contract.
Well, we looked at it. It's posted, but here's the thing. I would take your analogy to the next level. I would say he's certified pre-owned. Okay. So there's somewhere between a flea market TV unboxed. He's been checked. There's a checklist when you get a certified pre-owned car. They run through all this and say chassis check.
It's like when I bought one from Carvana. I had a week to change my mind.
So there's a buyer. And here's the thing. The Browns knew what they were getting.
Yep.
They knew that he had this cloud hanging over his head.
Yes.
And they're not idiots. They also knew that there was a distinct possibility there would be more women come forward that no one knew about. And apparently, that's what number 24 is.
Most importantly, is in this scenario Baker a tube TV with a built-in VCR?
He's a floor model. Okay. He's the big, wide floor model.
And I'm going to say this, too. I think the reason why they can't do it is the league is going to make an example out of him. The league will come to him and say, no. You the one gave him that 240. We didn't tell you to get that dude. And now you want to get off of it?
Let this be a lesson to your real team.
It's a lesson to everybody else.
The Browns have to weather the storm.
That'd be the most Browns thing ever.
Florio's crapping on the Browns, locking for it. They're all crapping on the Browns.
Wait, I don't think this is crapping on the Browns.
Well, Florio consistently craps on the Browns. He does.
In fairness, he craps on a lot of teams. He doesn't pick out the Browns.
He's grumpy.
There's a lot to pick fault at with this team.
No doubt. And this situation, yes, if Watson is guilty of what he's accused of, he's a bad guy.
I got an email last night from a 70-year-old woman on my Channel 3 account, and it was really well written and well thought out. And she explained where she was with the Browns, where she is today. And through the course of the email, she goes on to make the point that this team has been so bad for so long that the fans have put all this undue pressure on ownership to win at any cost. Almost like Haslam doesn't feel the pressure to make this move if the fans haven't been malcontents. And when I read it, I'm like, Well, hell,
Our bad.
we've lived through an 0-16 and a 1-15 in
Yeah.
succession.
Yeah.
I don't need to go through the things that we've lived through
Right.
as a fan base. I don't know how that circle came all the way around to the fans are at fault here.
No.
Don't
fans
blame the
are zero
victims.
fault.
Yeah. Don't blame the
Yeah,
victims.
It's not our fault.
You know?
I mean, whatever pressure Haslam feels to win, whether it's from the fans
Yeah.
or the media or just internal pressure, he's sick of sucking.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Guys,
but they made this move, and they're going to
That's
have to
right.
live and
Jay,
die with it now.
The bottom line is, and we all know this, everybody can get up on their soapboxes and get angry. The bottom line is, when Watson gets on the field, and he will get on the field, and it probably will happen at some point this year, worst case scenario, it happens in 23, but when he gets on the field, if he wins, 99.9% of the people screaming and yelling
Facts.
will not give a rat's you-know-what.
Super fact.
They won't.
They will not care. Ben Roethlisberger in his last game was talked about as like the conquering hero of America.
Sure.
They didn't say one bad word about how this guy's awful reputation.
Pittsburgh never did, though, to be
Right,
fair.
and
it was the 31 other fan bases.
Because guess what? All fans are hypocrites.
And you know, you do radio. How many fans call me and say, "G. Bush, man, I was with my father. My father wanted to see a championship so bad, but he passed away. My aunt,
Oh, yeah.
season tickets for, I went with my whole family." People
Yeah.
have, this is, I do a promo. People, this is life. People will pray to the Almighty High
Yeah.
and be like, "Give me 2 more years. I think we got it.
You
Give me a couple more years."
You could not like Deshaun Watson personally and still root for him to win. When I hate to make people feel bad, but I
Please.
have to bring it up as an example. When the Cubs traded for Aroldis Chapman, I didn't love it. There was part of me like, oh, I don't want him on this team. They might finally win the World Series, but in the end, even though he gave the big home run to Rajai Davis, in the end, when they won the World
It worked
Series,
out.
I wasn't like, oh, well, but Aroldis Chapman is on the team, so I
Yeah,
can't.
no, you're
enjoy it.
right when you said fans are hypocrites.
Yeah, we all are.
We hated Ben because he was on Pittsburgh and he did some shady things.
Right.
Now we love Deshaun because he
Right.
did some shady things, but he's on Cleveland.
Exactly.
So fans,
That's it.
We want
love
wins.
our guys.
And that
we
doesn't
deal
make
with
it
their
right.
flaws.
It doesn't make it right, but that's what
But
it
I
is.
am going to pivot. If more stuff come out and he definitely did it, I'm like, yo, I can't condone that. I can't condone for real.
No,
Like,
listen, at some point, I don't know what your tipping point is. You said 30. What's the difference? For me, it's not the number. If there is one case, one victim that, in my view, he sexually harassed or he was sexually inappropriate with, it doesn't matter that there's 30 or 25 or 100. If he did this to one woman, I think that changes and it's provable. Like, I'm surprised.
will we
what
ever
we've
know
heard-
that, though?
You know what? I'll
Yeah.
tell you what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So far, we haven't heard anything about a red dress. We heard about a blue dress that the massage therapist had on, but nobody has come forward with this. Well, if you'd like to test this dress
Yeah.
and see where that DNA on there comes from,
Yeah.
like that would be provable,
Is that
wouldn't
what it would take, though, do you think, for you and for most of the fan base to actually say, well, it's no longer alleged. I don't care if there are 40 accusers. I need physical evidence. Until
Didn't Ray
then, I
Rice
think-
kill somebody and stay in the league, or wasn't he?
that wasn't Ray
He didn't
Rice,
actually kill.
that
Not
was,
Ray
no,
Rice.
yeah,
Ray Lewis.
Ray
Ray
Lewis.
Lewis.
I think this is double-edged sword because guess what? If they do want to go to trial, and there's going to be things that you hear about these women that you haven't heard before.
Which is also why
Which
I think
is-
Buzbee
which
doesn't
is
want
a-
to go anywhere near a courtroom.
I mean, when you start talking about, hey, I know that you didn't do a massage with me anymore, but I'm attracted to you. Can we go out for a date? You're like, hold on, bro.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we don't know.
It's a lot of stuff.
Well, when the 23rd accuser came out, her character was being assailed online
Yes.
Yeah.
because of her Instagram account.
Right.
Because people immediately raced to her Instagram account and said, wait, hold up. When you got pictures like this that you're putting out there for the world,
There's going to be a lot of that. But we'll hear
Yeah.
about those 3 with the most graphic Instagram accounts. We won't hear about the 18 that just say,
No.
please come to my massage parlor. I
Right.
don't have anything
Right,
gross
right.
on here.
Right.
So that's what we're going to hear.
And in civil trial, they're going to have screenshots. They got text messages.
Oh, yeah.
So get ready for it.